Have you ever wondered why so many hardworking people still struggle financially? They wake up early. They work long hours. They do everything they were told would lead to success. And yet, freedom still feels far away. Here's the truth that most people never realize. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're not smart enough. It's because they were only taught one path: study hard, get a good job, work for decades, hope for a raise. Repeat. Sounds familiar? Now think about this for a moment. If your entire life depends on one employer and one paycheck, is that really security, or is that the biggest risk you've been conditioned to accept? Because the moment that paycheck stops, everything else starts to fall apart. That's not freedom. That's dependency. And here's where most people get it wrong. This journey is not about quitting your job tomorrow. It's not about taking reckless risks. Instead, it's about something far more powerful. Seeing your job for what it truly is: a stepping stone, not a destination, a tool, a temporary phase, a way to build something bigger. Because the real goal is to slowly, intentionally, and intelligently build multiple streams of income. So one day your income no longer depends on your time. And when that happens, you don't just earn money, you gain control. Now imagine this. Instead of waking up because you have to, you wake up because you choose to. Instead of working for survival, you work with purpose. That shift changes everything. If this is the kind of mindset you want to build, make sure you subscribe to Wealth Simplified and share this with someone who's still stuck in the same loop. Because in the next part, we're going to break down why this safe path is actually the most dangerous one, and how it quietly keeps people trapped for life. Let me show you the fastest, most practical way to start shifting out of the fixed income trap. You don't need a new degree. You don't need a huge investment. You just need to change how you sell what you already know. Most people sell their time. I work 8 hours, I get paid for 8 hours. Sounds normal, right? But think deeper. If your income is tied to time, there is always a limit. You only have 24 hours a day, which means your income is capped. Now here's the shift that changes everything. Stop selling time. Start selling results. Instead of saying, "I charge $10 per hour to write," you say, "I deliver a complete content package that helps your page grow." See the difference? One is time-based. The other is value-based. Here's another example. Instead of, "I edit videos for $5 per hour," you say, "I create a finished video that keeps viewers watching till the end." Now suddenly, you're not just a worker, you become a problem solver. And here's the part most people underestimate. You don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to be one step ahead of someone else. Because there are millions of people who are just getting started. They don't need an expert. They need someone who can guide them through the first step. When you start selling results instead of time, something powerful happens. You begin to control your value. You can charge based on impact, not hours, and even better. You can start building a system. You can outsource simple tasks. You can focus on higher value work. You can scale. Now you're no longer trading time for money. You're building something that can grow beyond you. So ask yourself this simple question: am I getting paid for my time, or for the results I create? Because that answer will determine your financial future. If this shift is opening your mind, take a second to subscribe and share this with someone who is still stuck selling their time. Let me introduce you to a model that has created more millionaires than most people realize. Not by building products, not by working longer hours, but simply by connecting the right people together. This is called being a value-based intermediary. Now pause for a second. When you hear the word middleman, what comes to mind? Maybe something negative, maybe someone trying to make a quick profit. But that's not what we're talking about here. Because done right, this is one of the most powerful ways to create income without needing to own anything. Here's the shift in thinking. You are not taking a cut. You are creating value between two sides. On one side, there's someone who has something valuable. On the other side, there's someone who needs it. And in between, there's a gap of trust, a gap of information, a gap of connection. And that's where you come in. Think about industries like real estate, insurance, courses, product sourcing. In all these areas, The people who win are not always the creators. They are the ones who understand both sides and bring them together. But here's the key. This is not about tricks. This is not about chasing commissions. If you focus only on the money, you lose trust, and once trust is gone, everything collapses. Instead, focus on this. Be the person who truly understands what people need. Be the person who recommends the right solution. Be the person others can rely on. Because when you build real credibility, something powerful happens. People start coming to you. People start trusting you. People start buying through you. And the commission, that becomes a natural result of the value you create for everyone involved. Now imagine this. You don't need to create the product. You don't need to handle everything. You simply become the bridge, and the stronger your reputation, the more valuable that bridge becomes. So ask yourself, who can I help connect that would create value for both sides? Because the moment you start thinking like this, you stop chasing money and you start attracting it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gone through a struggle, figured something out the hard way, and thought, I wish someone had told me this earlier? Now here's the realization that can change your life. What you've already been through is valuable to someone else, even your mistakes, even your failures, even the lessons you learned the hard way. Most people believe, I'm not an expert yet. I don't know enough. I'm not ready to teach, but that belief, it's what keeps them stuck. Because the truth is, you don't need to stand at the top of the mountain to guide someone. You just need to be a few steps ahead. Think about it. Someone is at step 1 and you're at step 5. To them, you are already valuable. You've seen what they haven't. You've solved what they're struggling with, and that is enough to start. So how do you turn this into income? You don't need anything complicated. Start simple. Share your journey. Write what you've learned. Create videos. Offer small coaching sessions. Package your knowledge into an ebook. Not perfect, just real, because people don't connect with perfection. They connect with honesty. And here's what makes this powerful. When you build income from your knowledge, you're building on something that no one can take away from you. Your job can disappear. Your market can change, but what you know, what you've experienced, that stays with you, and it keeps growing over time. Your knowledge becomes deeper. Your insights become sharper. Your value increases, which means you don't just earn more, you become more. And that's the foundation of sustainable wealth. Now imagine this. Instead of starting from zero every time, you build a library of value, content that works for you, ideas that compound over time. That's when you stop trading effort for money and start turning your life into an asset. So ask yourself, what have I learned that someone else is still struggling with? Because your answer might be your next income stream. Now let's talk about something many people overcomplicate. Starting a business. Most people think, I need a lot of money. I need a perfect plan. I need a big idea, so they wait, and never start. But here's the truth. You don't need a big business. You need a smart, small one. Instead of chasing something huge, focus on something simple, a real problem, a real need, something people are already willing to pay for. Think about it. Food and basic services, fixing things, helping people save time. These are not sexy ideas, but they work because they solve immediate problems. Now here's the key principle most beginners miss. Don't aim for big profits first. Aim for fast cash flow. This means you sell quickly, you recover your money quickly, you learn quickly. Instead of putting all your money into inventory and hoping it sells, you move fast, test small, adjust fast, improve fast, because every time money flows, you gain something more valuable than profit. You gain experience. You start to understand what people really want, what makes them buy, what makes them hesitate, and this knowledge is what separates winners from everyone else. Here's what happens when you do this right. Your money doesn't sit still. It moves, it grows, it teaches you, while others are stuck thinking. You are already learning, and over time, you begin to see patterns. You begin to spot opportunities faster. You begin to make better decisions because now you're not guessing anymore. You understand how cash flow actually works in the real world. So don't ask yourself, what big business should I start? Ask a better question. What small problem can I solve that people will pay for today? Because small, fast-moving businesses are not just about money. They are your training ground for financial intelligence. If this is changing how you see business, make sure you subscribe and share this with someone who is still waiting for the perfect idea. You're trying to build a channel online. And if you are, it can feel like you're on this treadmill, just constantly chasing the next big thing, the next viral hit. But what if I told you there's a different way? A path that's, frankly, more powerful and way less stressful. It's not about fame, it's about building something real, something that lasts. Let's dig into that path. Let's be real for a second. When you think online success, your mind probably jumps straight to those huge numbers, right? Millions of views, tons of subscribers. And that number on the screen can create so much pressure. But is that really the only way to measure success? Is that the only game in town? Or could we be playing a different one altogether? It really breaks down into two totally different paths you can take. On one side, you've got what's called the KOL, or Key Opinion Leader path. That's the frantic chase, right? Hopping on every trend, trying desperately to go viral, and needing to appeal to absolutely everyone. But then, there's the trust path. And here, the whole goal just flips on its head. It's not about millions of faceless views anymore. It's about earning a real, genuine connection with a specific community, a group of people who actually care about what you have to say. And that gets us to the absolute core of this whole idea. Once you take that immense pressure off yourself, the pressure to become some huge online celebrity, what's left? What's your new guiding star? Well, it's something simple but so profound: earning trust. This quote just nails it. It really captures this entire mindset shift perfectly. It's a complete rethink of your purpose. See, your goal is no longer to be a megaphone shouting into a crowd. Instead, you become a trusted voice in a real conversation with a specific group of people who are actually leaning in to listen to you. So, what do we actually mean by building trust? What does that look like? Well, it's all about creating that strong bond, one piece of content at a time. And it really comes down to two key things. First, your stuff has to be genuinely valuable to your specific audience. And second, you've got to show up and deliver that value consistently. That reliability, that's the foundation for the entire connection. Okay, so earning trust is the goal. Got it. But how in the world do you actually do it? The good news is, it's not about some complicated marketing hack. It all starts with a pretty simple but really powerful mindset shift. And it's all centered on finding and sharing your authentic voice. And the method here is just beautifully simple. First up, speak from your understanding. Don't try to be an expert on everything. Share what you genuinely know. Second, speak from your belief. That passion you feel for a topic, that conviction, it's contagious. That's what builds a real connection. And third, speak from your experience. Your personal stories, the lessons you've learned, that's what makes your voice totally unique and irreplaceable. See, it's not about faking it till you make it. It's about sharing who you really are. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Building trust, being authentic, it all sounds great. But does it actually lead to, success? Let's talk about the payoff, because this isn't just some feel-good philosophy. It's a real blueprint for a sustainable career that's built on a foundation of genuine connection. And here's the magic moment, the turning point. Once you've put in that work, once you've truly earned that trust, you've basically built an ecosystem where opportunities just start to pop up naturally. You're no longer just shouting content into the void. You're in a dialogue with an audience that listens, respects you, and genuinely values what you bring to the table. So what does this actually look like? Well, that trust you built becomes your single greatest asset. Brands want to partner with you because they know your recommendation actually means something. Your affiliate links will actually convert because people see them as genuine suggestions, not just random ads. And this is the big one. When you decide to launch your own product or service, you already have an audience that is ready and waiting to support you because they're invested in you. But, and this is really important to remember, this is not a shortcut, not at all. It's described as a slow but fair path. And the principle behind it is incredibly simple. The value you consistently put out there for your audience is the exact same value you will eventually get back. It's a direct, it's honest, and it's a totally sustainable exchange. So we've gone through the why and the how. We've looked at the high-stress path of just chasing numbers, and we've looked at this more grounded, meaningful path of building trust. So now, The final piece of this puzzle is you, which really brings us back to the most important question of all. When you really think about it, what you understand, what you deeply believe in, and what you've personally experienced. What is the one unique story that only you can tell the world? Because finding that answer, that's where this whole incredible journey really begins. We're talking about how you can start investing, even with small amounts of money, in assets that actually put cash back in your pocket. So many of us think investing is something you do after you're rich, right? It's like the prize at the end. But what if that's all backward? What if investing is actually the starting line? What if it's the very tool you use to build that wealth in the first place? And that really gets to the heart of the issue, doesn't it? This is the mental roadblock that stops so many people dead in their tracks. So you have to ask yourself, are you just sitting on the sidelines, waiting for some big pile of cash to magically show up before you get in the game? Let's just tackle this one head on. This belief, this idea that you need a fortune just to get started, it's probably the single biggest myth in the world of finance. The material we're digging into today shows us a totally different way to think about it. And that new path, it starts right here. And here's the secret. It has nothing to do with your bank balance. It's all about your mindset. Before you put even $1 on the table, the most critical investment you can possibly make is in changing how you approach the whole idea. Now, what's so interesting about this is what it doesn't say. It doesn't say anything about perfectly timing the market or finding the next hot thing. Nope. It boils down to just two things: knowledge, really understanding what you're buying into, and emotional discipline, keeping your cool when things inevitably get a little rocky. And this just lays it out so clearly. Investing is deliberate, it's thoughtful, it's a process you control. Gambling, well, that's often just about chasing the hype, buying because everyone else is, or panic selling for the same reason. It's pure reaction. You want to be the investor, not the gambler. Okay, so you've got the mindset on lock, but how does it actually work in the real world? How do you get your money to a place where it can start working for you and start making more money? Well, it all comes down to owning the right kind of stuff. And here are some of the classics. Now, you might look at stocks or rental properties and think, whoa, that's way out of my league. But here's the thing. Today, you can buy a tiny slice of a stock for just a few bucks, or get into real estate through special funds. The principle is exactly the same no matter the scale. Find things that put money back into your pocket, again and again. You want to own assets that work for you 24/7. But why? Why go to all the trouble to change your mindset and hunt down these assets? It really comes down to two incredibly powerful reasons, which are the ultimate goals of this whole strategy. First, it's about freedom. It's about getting to a point where your income isn't tied one-to-one with the hours you clock in at a job. It's about building a system where your assets are like tiny employees all working around the clock to earn for you. That right there is the real path to financial independence. And it's not just about offense, it's also about defense. Every single day, there's this invisible thief called inflation that's quietly eating away at the value of the money you've worked so hard for. Cash just sitting there is actually losing its buying power over time. Investing in assets that generate their own cash is one of the best shields you have to protect what you've earned. All right, so we've covered the why and the how. We've talked mindset, we've talked assets, and we've talked about the big picture goals. Now, let's pull it all together into a super simple framework you can actually remember and use. Think of it like a 3-step journey. First, you start with your mindset. Get educated and learn to control your emotions. Second, you choose the form of your investment. You find those assets that are built to generate cash flow. And third, you never lose sight of your goal: to get your money working for you and to beat inflation. And just like that, we're right back where we started. But this idea probably hits a little differently now, right? Investing isn't some exclusive club for the wealthy. It's the strategy you use to get there. It's not about waiting for a finish line. It's about getting to the starting line. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that you don't have to wait. You can start today, right now, just by changing how you think. And that leaves us with one final and pretty exciting question to think about. With this new framework in mind, what will your first small investment be? For so many of us, that dream looks like one giant risky move, right? Winning the lottery or picking that one stock that just goes to the moon. But what if that whole idea is a myth? And what if that myth is the very thing holding you back? Financial freedom is not about that 1 in a million lottery ticket moment. It's not about betting the farm on some crazy high-stakes gamble. Once you really truly get this one idea, it changes the entire game. Okay, so let's dig into this idea of the reckless leap. Come on, we've all felt it, right? That magnetic pull of instant wealth. But where does that idea even come from? And why is it so dangerously misleading? I mean, really think about it. Is financial freedom just one big roll of the dice? We see it in movies. We hear these incredible stories about people who risked it all and won big. But is that a strategy? Or is it just that we only ever hear about the winners? The truth is, for almost all of us, it's not a reliable path. And this breaks it down perfectly. You've basically got two mindsets. On one side, there's the reckless leap. It's all about luck, insane risk, and just waiting for some magic moment to strike. Then, on the other side, you've got the disciplined journey. This is built on a process, on consistency, and on time. Look, it's not as glamorous, I get it, but it's the one that's actually real. So, if the reckless leap is a myth, then what's the reality? Let's build the true foundation of freedom and take a look at what it actually takes to get there. This right here is the absolute core message. Financial freedom isn't an accident. It's not something you just stumble into because you got lucky. It's the result of you consciously choosing to build something, step by step. It's a deliberate process that, and this is the best part, anyone can begin. So what does that process actually look like in real life? Well, it boils down to three fundamental pillars. First up, discipline. And no, this isn't about deprivation, it's about automation. Just setting up a small automatic transfer to savings every time you get paid. That's discipline in action. Then you've got patience. This is all about accepting that this is a marathon, not a sprint. It means checking your investments maybe once a quarter, not every 5 minutes. And finally, responsibility. This means taking complete ownership, creating a simple budget, and actually looking at it. See, these aren't just words, this is the actual blueprint. Now, knowing these pillars is one thing, but actually getting started, that's a whole other ballgame. So let's talk about the single biggest barrier, the one excuse that stops most people before they even take the first step. And this quote, boom, it just demolishes the most common excuse in the book, I don't have enough money to start. Let me be really clear. How much you start with is almost irrelevant compared to the simple act of starting. That is the key. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. It's not your bank account, it's not your job or your background, it's the decision. It's that moment you choose to go from just thinking about it to actually doing something about it, no matter how small that first step feels. Alright, so we've busted the myth, we've laid the real foundation, and we've cleared away the biggest excuse. There's only one thing left to do now. Take the first step. So let's talk about what that looks like today. So let's make that first step tangible, something you can do right now. Think of this as your first act of discipline. Go ahead and like this explainer to commit to the idea. Now, for your first act of responsibility, acknowledge what you already bring to the table. Comment below with one skill you have. And finally, commit to the patience of the journey by subscribing. This isn't just about growing a channel, it's about you starting your own journey. And that's our promise here. No get-rich-quick schemes, no reckless leaps, just a commitment to building a realistic, steady path towards what we're all really looking for, true financial freedom. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. Forget about what you don't have for just a moment. What skill, what talent, what little piece of knowledge do you already have that could be the very first stone you lay on your path? Really think about it and let us know in the comments. Your journey starts right there.